What if the reason you don't love your home has almost nothing to do with your furniture? You could have the right sofa, the right colors, beautiful artwork, expensive finishes, and yet something still feels off. You walk into one room and instantly relax. Then you walk into another and, for no obvious reason, you want to leave. That difference isn't always about style. Your brain is constantly reading the spaces around you. It notices where you can see, where you can't, how easily you can move, how much visual information you're processing, how familiar the surroundings feel, and even how much effort it takes to understand what's happening around you. And here's the interesting part. You don't have to completely redesign your home to change those signals. Sometimes, moving one piece of furniture can change the psychological experience of an entire room. So instead of asking, "Does my home look good?" there's a better question. Does my home make my brain feel good? Because once you understand how your brain interprets space, some strange design problems suddenly start making sense. And the first one begins with something much more basic than aesthetics. It begins with safety. Think about the places where you naturally choose to sit. In a restaurant, do you automatically pick the seat where you can see the entrance? At a cafe, do you prefer sitting with your back against a wall? When you're working, do you feel more comfortable when you can see the room instead of facing a blank wall? You might think that's just personal preference. But humans have long been sensitive to something psychologists described through ideas, such as prospect and refuge. The appeal of having visibility into the surrounding environment while also having some sense of protection behind you. You can see what's happening, but nothing feels exposed behind your back. That combination can make a space feel easier to settle into. And this is why the position of your furniture can matter more than the furniture itself. Imagine a desk pushed against a wall, with the doorway directly behind your chair. Nothing dangerous is happening. But every time someone walks into the room, you have to turn around. Every unexpected movement is outside your field of view. Now compare that with a desk positioned so you can see the doorway while having a solid wall behind you. Same desk, same room, same person, completely different experience. That's the first principle. Give your important places a sense of control. Your desk, your favorite chair, your sofa, even the head of your bed. Whenever practical, arrange these spaces so you have a comfortable view of the room without feeling exposed from behind. The goal isn't to make your home look like a fortress. It's to make the room easier for your brain to understand. And that leads to the second principle. Because even when a room feels safe, it can still exhaust you. And sometimes, the culprit is something you barely notice. Noise. You've probably experienced this. A room looks beautiful, but every footstep echoes. A chair scrapes against the floor. The kitchen sounds bounce off the walls. Someone puts down a glass, and the sound seems strangely sharp. Nothing is seriously wrong, yet after spending hours there, you feel more tired than expected. Part of the reason is acoustics. Hard surfaces reflect sound. Soft surfaces absorb or diffuse it. So when a room contains lots of glass, bare walls, hard flooring, and minimal textiles, sound can linger and bounce around. That can make the environment feel busier. The solution isn't necessarily expensive acoustic treatment. Start with the things that already belong in a home. And notice what we're doing here. We're not asking the room to look more luxurious. We're making it easier to experience. That's a recurring theme throughout good design. The brain doesn't experience your home as a photograph. It experiences it as an environment. And environments have sound, depth, texture, movement, light, and rhythm. Which brings us to something people often underestimate: visual complexity. Have you ever looked at a perfectly minimalist room and thought it was beautiful, but somehow felt tired after staring at it? There's an important distinction here. Minimalism isn't inherently stressful. The problem is when a room contains the wrong kind of complexity or too little visual variation for the environment you're trying to create. Your attention constantly interacts with what you see. A completely chaotic room gives your brain too many competing signals. But an environment with absolutely no variation can also feel sterile or lifeless. This is where natural materials become surprisingly useful. Think about watching leaves move in the wind. You're looking at something, but you're not trying to solve it. You're not reading it. You're not answering a question. Your attention can simply rest on it. This idea connects with attention restoration research, which suggests that certain environments, especially those containing natural features and gently engaging patterns, can help replenish directed attention. And you can bring a small version of that experience indoors. Instead of making every surface perfectly smooth and identical, introduce materials with subtle variation. The goal isn't to turn your home into a forest. It's to give your eyes somewhere pleasant to rest. And that brings us to another problem modern homes face. Your brain doesn't only respond to what's physically around you, it also learns what it sees repeatedly. This is where the mere exposure effect becomes interesting. Research associated with psychologist Robert Zajonc showed that repeated exposure can increase people's familiarity and, under many conditions, their preference for stimuli. That sounds harmless, until you realize how much exposure your home gets from the internet. You scroll through hundreds of interiors. The same colors appear, the same furniture shapes, the same materials, the same lighting, the same decorative objects. Eventually, familiarity starts feeling like preference. You think, I love this, but do you? Or have you simply seen it so many times that it feels safe and familiar? This is why a room inspired entirely by trends can look perfect today and strangely wrong later. The trend changes, your feed changes, and suddenly your supposedly personal style doesn't feel personal anymore. So try something different. Before choosing the next major piece for your home, look away from the algorithm. Look at your actual life. What colors do you repeatedly wear? What materials do you naturally touch? What places make you feel comfortable? That question produces much better design decisions, because the goal isn't to create a room that photographs well, it's to create a room that still feels right when nobody is looking. But there's another psychological trap that can completely sabotage this. And it has nothing to do with trends. It's the stuff you already own. Maybe there's a chair you don't like, a table that dominates the room, a decoration you received as a gift, something expensive you bought years ago. You don't love it anymore, but getting rid of it feels wrong. There are two psychological forces that can make this difficult. One is the endowment effect. We often value something more simply because we own it. The other is the sunk cost problem. We can struggle to abandon something because we've already invested money, time, or emotion into it. And together, they can turn one unwanted object into the center of an entire room. You buy a new rug to make the chair work, then different curtains, then another table, then more decoration. You're spending money trying to solve a problem you could have solved by removing one object. So here's a simple test. Pretend you don't own the item. You're seeing it for the first time in a store. Would you choose it today? If the answer is no, that's valuable information. The money you spent in the past cannot be recovered by keeping the object in your living room. And sometimes the most powerful design decision isn't adding something. It's giving yourself permission to remove something. And now we can connect everything. A home that feels dramatically better isn't necessarily the one with the most expensive furniture. It's the one that reduces unnecessary work for your brain. You can see the room clearly. You know where to move. Your back doesn't feel exposed. Sound isn't constantly bouncing around you. Your eyes have natural textures to rest on. The room reflects your actual preferences instead of whatever you've been shown most often online. And the objects around you aren't forcing you to constantly compromise. That's the deeper lesson. Good interior design isn't only about controlling how a room looks. It's about controlling how a room behaves. And that changes the way you should approach your next redesign. Don't begin by asking what you should buy. Begin by asking what your brain is currently being asked to tolerate. Is there a blind spot that makes you uncomfortable? Is the room acoustically harsh? Is there too much visual competition? Is everything so smooth and artificial that your eyes have nowhere to rest? Are you designing around an object you don't even like? Are you copying a trend because you genuinely love it or because you've simply seen it everywhere? And is the room easy to move through? Fix those problems first, because sometimes the biggest improvement doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing friction. And that's why the best home might not be the one that makes visitors say, "Wow." It might be the one that makes breathe a little deeper when you walk through the door. Because when your environment stops demanding attention, stops creating unnecessary uncertainty, and starts supporting the way you naturally think and move, something changes. You don't just see your home differently. You experience it differently. And maybe that's what great design has always been about. Not creating a perfect room, creating a place where your brain finally feels like it can stop working so hard.